I think most fighters come from a specific upbringing. Something happened to them that they chose to be a fighter.
I think there's a lot of benefits that go way beyond physical for being a fighter. I started boxing for some physical reasons, but what boxing really did to me was save my life. I was a synchronized swimmer with the national team, and because of a bunch of injuries, I had to pull off the team and say goodbye to my Olympic dreams. At that point, I had no idea who I was. I had always identified as an athlete and moreover a synchronized swimmer, and now what do? I didn't reach my ultimate dream. I accidentally started boxing. A boxing coach pulled me into the gym and said, "Hey, you look like you can fight." And I was like, I've never fought before, you know? He said, "Oh, you look like an athlete." I said, "Yeah, I'm a broken athlete." He said, "I can fix you." And he did rehab my injuries, but more than that, he got me to have a new focus. I had purpose again. I got really addicted to it. It gave me my discipline and just happiness. I felt good about myself. It gives me so much confidence knowing that I can handle myself in any situation. Like literally, there's just too many good things that boxing gives me beyond physical that I can't name them all. Just kidding, baby. Just kidding.
My freshman year in high school, I got bullied really bad. I didn't know how to talk about it or talk to anyone about it, and I didn't go to anyone for help. They surprised me, cornered me when I was at my locker. Just pretty much like walked up to me. I remember the first girl saying, it was 8 girls, I remember she said, "Where are your parents now?" I didn't know what to do. I had never been in this situation before. And then she just clocked me. And I went down and I just remember like covering my head, not knowing what to do. And man, they were kicking, they were stomping. I could feel my ribs. Then they were stomping on my chest, stomping on my face, on my arms, kicking. It was horrible. When I woke up, I was in someone's arms being carried to the nurse's office, I guess, at school. I was sitting just like this and I like looked down and I saw blood everywhere. And I couldn't move this arm. This was the shoulder blade that was broken. And like my mouth was just like hanging because my jaw was broken too. And I called my mom and she answered the phone and all I said was "Mommy." Like literally all I said was "Mommy." And she hung up the phone, and my handicapped mother, who was like on crutches and a walker or a wheelchair at the time, I don't even remember, drove her car, she wasn't supposed to be driving, and drove to the school. And I just remember hearing her yell, "Kita Maget, where the fuck are you?" And I just said, "Ah!" And so she heard my cry. And I remember she yelled at the nurse, like, "Get the fuck away from my daughter, get me a wheelchair now, why haven't you called the police?" And she took me to the hospital by herself on crutches with her leg in a cast. They broke my jaw, they broke my shoulder blade, they broke 4 of my ribs. My pancreas and my liver were pretty much obliterated. I was on enzymes for 10 years to help digest my food. I didn't understand how I didn't know these girls. For them to hate me so much, I could not get it. Like I didn't understand that like sometimes people just don't like each other or other people. And then that was the start of my new life, overcoming that.
I always got bullied. I'm a light-skinned Cuban kid who speaks Spanish, first language Spanish, but I'm light-skinned. Everybody's always called me Casper and White Out, and White Boy, and Güero, and I got some guys who are cooler than my friends, but a lot of the Mexican kids just didn't want to have nothing to do with my white, like, skin color. Even though I spoke Spanish fluently, I'm Latin. I would literally let them know, like, I'm Cuban, like, hablo español, you know, it's primera lengua, like, you know, I would try to touch base with them. And I guess because my Spanish is a little bit, for sure, different, they would always make fun of me. I was just always just like the ridiculed, like pushed to the side kind of kid. I told my mom, I want to do a solo sport. I don't care if it's tennis, if it's golf, boxing. I really want to do boxing. And next thing you know, my dad was like, okay, all right. Heard me out. I think a week later, we went to a gym and I signed up at the gym. That was the Northridge Athletic Club. That was the first gym that I started training. My first martial art was boxing.
So after I was in the hospital for a week, I had a fractured scapula. It was like literally broken in half. I remember a big old arm sling that had to keep my arm like this for 3 months. My ribs were broken and PTSD like a mother. It was terrible and life sucked. I hated school. I didn't want to go back. I never went back to that school. That whole process was just horrific. It was horrible, from the deposition and having to see these girls all over again, to the trial, and to just the mental, like I didn't understand what I did wrong. So I was insecure. I was courageless. I had nothing. I felt like I was just a body floating in the world. I couldn't really even leave my house. I couldn't even go to church. Not that I wanted to, but I couldn't go to the movie theater. I couldn't do anything because just the fear of someone behind me made me have such anxiety that I could feel my throat swelling and my heart beating fast and getting sweaty and just uncomfortable. And to not go through that, I just stayed home. And that sucked too. Fast forward to being an actor. I was on Seventh Heaven for years. I am Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I did lots of commercials, lots. And getting an audition to learn how to grapple. And that was my first taste of martial arts. Jiu-jitsu was my first martial arts class. And I remember sitting there and being like, hell no, I don't want to do this at all. I'm good. I'll just do it for the role. As I watched and came back every day and just kept coming back, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, these people are learning how to choke people, how to break arms, how to do things to somebody in case someone's doing something to them. Like, man, this is huge. I didn't partake, I just watched until I had enough courage to take the class, and then I just started taking it, and I was scared and I was intimidated, and I remember being like, ah, but it was fun and it was exciting, and it was something very new and very uncomfortable. And at this point in my life, I was very keen on putting myself in uncomfortable situations so that I could start overcoming the fears and walls that I had built up over the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, when I was younger, my mom had told me a story of how she was grabbed in a park by somebody while she was jogging, and luckily she had some knowledge of self-defense, so she was able to get away. And I did take a few self-defense classes when I was little because of that. I was always pretty feisty and really strong and not too afraid, but as a female, there's always this just like lingering fear. Doesn't matter, there could be nothing going on, but literally just going from the mall to the parking lot, there's always some kind of concern, or we have to have awareness that anybody could be basically a predator to us. So as sad as that is, it's the world we live in, and it was even like that back then when my mom was younger. Imagine how it is now. To me, it's a lot of danger out there, so knowing how to defend yourself is huge.
My fight started in middle school. A little bit in elementary, but more in middle school, where things really got hot, where I just got bullied for being that light-skinned white kid, Hispanic kid. And it just I kept getting into fights, and I didn't win a lot of them. I got jumped. I got beat up by a kid. He broke his hand, so his hand was like this in a cast, so he could like move his fingers. And he had a cast on his arm. I got into a fight with this kid. I think the fight started because his homie was literally making fun of what I was wearing to school. I had some like Air Forces. They were like new, cool Air Forces, but this kid was just a hater. So he was just shitting on me in front of everybody. I would always get shit on. And my dad would always do the best to do as much as he possibly could to buy me everything and anything that I wanted to be cool. You know, my Dickies, with my Air Forces, with my white pro club, like anything to be cool, you know, anything that I could do, but I just never got accepted. After getting my ass beat 3 times, that was like when I was just done with it. And that was like following my football stuff. Now I'm in like middle school. Now I got a chip on my shoulder. I'm tired of getting fucked with. I'm tired of getting bullied. I'm tired of getting messed with. I'm tired of getting prodded and poked. And I just put my foot down and I wanted to literally create something that was gonna make me strong. I wanted to be part of something. I wanted to create a person. I wanted to be somebody different. I didn't want to be that Nico anymore. I wanted to be like a badass Nico. I wanted to change my character in the video game. And rather than change my character, I started to change his stats. The more that I went through this journey to become like a fighter or go to boxing class to learn how to defend myself, just in case that I get into a fight with these guys, because it kept reoccurring. I fell in love with the confidence, and just having my gloves on my backpack and going to school changed the way people looked at me, changed the way people talked to me. Like, that, oh, he trains. It almost put like a sense of fear in people. It's almost like I can't even, it was like having Excalibur sword. Something changed just the minute that I put the gloves on. So when I signed up and my mom signed me up and I decided to dedicate myself to boxing, my whole life changed. I stopped getting bullied. Everybody wanted to be my friend now. Everybody wanted to have the guy who knows how to box, be their homie, be their friend, be on their side. Now he's cool, he's got Air Forces and he's a boxer. So that really changed everything. And I was able to feel and taste what it was to be respected.
What? You tricked me! You tricked me! So even though now I'm able to knock a motherfucker out, I still have a small fear that something could happen to me. And I just think it's something that women always have to be aware of, their surroundings. And it's unfortunate, but it's also like, you know, I can handle somebody with my hands, but let's say that they come after me with a weapon, it's still scary. Like, it doesn't matter. And my intentions are good, you know? I always say, I'm a fighter in the ring and a lover in life. So I always think that everybody is like, I give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, they're nice, they're kind. I have a little bit of like naivete left. I've been that way since I was little. I don't know if it will ever get knocked out of me. I choose to remain that way, to be like very loving in life. Getting punched in the face. I can take a good punch. I have a jaw. Funny, like your physical structure in boxing, what everybody thinks it should be, like you should be just like tough and strong and like, you know, like I'm very long, I have really long arms. I'm long and lean, and but I have a lot of power and a lot of speed, and my face looks like it can't take a punch, but it can. When you are sparring or fighting, the adrenaline is pumping so much that you almost don't feel the pain of it when it happens, really. You just feel your momentum stop. So it's almost like if you were just like going for a run and a truck pulled up right here and you just ran into the side of it. You know what I mean? It's like your momentum, it just stops. So it's hard and it's weird because it disrupts your flow. But honestly, to me, it doesn't really hurt. What hurts is the next day when you wake up with bruises everywhere and you like can't blow your nose because, like, you know. During it, getting punched in the face, to me, it only makes me more focused. Some people get defeated, some people get mad. That doesn't make for a champion in the ring. It has to make you more focused, where it's like, oh, shit, I just got hit. Let me keep my hands up, or let me focus on head movement a little bit more. Let me be in the moment and pay attention because I'm not letting that happen again. Or it's like a make them pay thing, like, all right, I got you. I got one stronger than that coming for you, like, you know? Here's my knockout punch, taste that.
As a child, I had zero interest in fighting whatsoever. I didn't even understand why anyone would fight. Like, let's all just be friends. And I just wanted to sing and dance with butterflies and flowers. Literally, that was me as a child. I did gymnastics and I ran track. I had my first taste of like anything with another person was with my brother, and he was in Kung Fu, and he would just come home and try everything on me, which really sucked. I actually asked my father recently, like, why didn't you put me in martial arts? And he's like, I didn't think you would need it. And in hindsight, I'm the one who actually needed it.
Yeah, I feel like training on all levels has helped me with confidence, but especially in boxing when it requires your full mental focus, physical discipline. It's literally the whole package. The hardest thing you could ever put your body and mind through at one time, I believe, is boxing, while also maintaining your composure, like staying calm, because that's the name of the game. The second you get rattled, you're on the canvas, right? So keeping that all together and learning under pressure how to maintain composure, I think for me is a huge lesson. I love to panic. So in boxing, you can't worry, you can't panic, you have to stay in the moment. That helps my mentality, like it transfers over into life. So I always tell people, actually boxing made me more aware as a driver. I can see when people are like making the slightest adjustment without their blinker, and I just know, oh, they're about to merge. My friends will, oh, what are you, psychic? I'm like, no, I can feel it. I can feel the energy shifting, and sure enough, they would have cut me off, sideswiped me, whatever. I've saved myself a lot of car accidents. LA's crazy with their traffic, man. Yeah, boxing helps everything.
So what got me into fighting was a video, it was a VHS given to me by my godfather. He was a bouncer with my dad, and I believe it's called Choke. And it's like a documentary style walkthrough of them going from Brazil to Japan to compete in like the first prides, the first MMA kind of sanctioned Valetudo fights. Hickson is the main person. And so he's jumping into ice water, like there's like a river. See all the brothers get in and they're going crazy. It's way too cold for them. And you see Hickson and he's got utter control of his breathing and calmness just set upon his face. Just he's breathing and he's in and out, and he's really known for these meditative breaths, like these real fire breathing, they say, like this ability to move his diaphragm and breathe with his abs and his lowest part of his lungs. That blew my mind away just watching them. It was almost like watching like a Dragon Ball Z, like a live Dragon Ball Z, like these guys are some warrior, super duper warrior. And that really was the first step to me watching fighting.
My life took me where it needed to go, all the way circling back to what am I passionate about? And that came from being an empowered woman and me doing the work. I realized that there was something that was following me in my life, and that was not standing up for myself. It happened in school. It happened with my own brother. Just like, leave me alone. Like, I would never say that. It happened at work. I got sexually harassed. Didn't know how to deal with it. Froze. Was in an abusive relationship. Didn't know how to get out of it. Froze. And so I really, really wanted to do the work to get through this. I had the realization that this thing is not going away. So I have to address it. It's not something I can put away, or it's gonna be there all the time. So I went to counseling, went to therapy, got a life coach, did the work, dealt through it, pulled it all out, organized it, took it in, accepted everything, wanted to change, wanted to be empowered from within, not on the outside. I was really good being an actor at hiding that I was in a lot of pain and that I was broken on the inside and that I was unhappy, and became a martial artist. And was really good at it. Surprisingly, I had no clue that I was a fighter. I had no idea. I really didn't know, and I think we all are born with that, but sometimes different things are the things that highlight them and pull them out. And my athleticism compiled with just being a technical athlete, and now learning technical stuff to protect myself. Oh my God. My life changed. Like, jiu-jitsu saved my life.
I am a striker, predominantly a striker. Funny thing about that is that all my fights, my 2 professional MMA fights, have gone to submission. And that's because guys are always trying to take me down and get me out of where I am strongest, which is on my feet, kicking, kneeing, punching, elbowing, clinching. I like to go forward. I like to put the pressure on. I like to take one to give one. I like to give the fans what they want to see, which is, not a lay and pray fight, more of a brawl and sprawl fight. I want to be, an exciting fighter. People remember me for how exciting my fights are, not that I win every single fight by holding a guy down, which is extremely respectable, and it's a power move, meaning it's something that I worry about, is a guy taking me down, holding me down, and me not being able to display my techniques. That's why I'm trying to work on takedown defense as much as I possibly can. But I love to just go out there and exchange with guys.
So my fighting style is very technical. I like to use a lot of angles, so using my footwork to step around angles and come back with a shot like to the body. I love overhand rights. If you're gonna fight me, don't be studying this. I'm still gonna land it on you. But yeah, I love rolling somebody's punch and coming back with an overhand right. It feels so good. I don't limit myself to say that I have like just one punch, because I have a very diverse toolbox. So I have a stiff jab, really stiff jab. My last fight, my very first punch, I knocked her head straight back with a jab. I just went straight in for it. She wasn't too happy about that. A lot of people forget about the body. I love breaking down the body. Takes away a lot of somebody's wind. And because stamina is my strength, I already have the upper hand there. So if I take away your wind and I still have more stamina, chances are you're going down.
I delved into it, and then I started competing, and I was amazing, and I was good, and it came to me. It just was in my spirit, and I love that sport. And then a friend from jiu-jitsu actually invited me to take a Muay Thai class, and I was like, oh, I love Thai food. Like, did not know what Muay Thai was. And then he was like, no, it's kickboxing, and I was like, oh, I do Thai Bo. He was like, no, like the real kind. I was like, okay, well, whatever. I'm an athlete. I can do it. And when I went to that first Muay Thai class, it was the hardest workout I had ever done in my whole life. I literally wanted to vomit. I wanted to cry. I wanted to shit. I just, everything was all over the place. And I was like, that was crazy uncomfortable, but really good. And I want to go back just because I know I need to. I was really on this like empowerment trip. Like I needed to be empowered. I was really over feeling like, woe is me, or what am I gonna do, or what can I do? Or like, I just needed to do something about it.
I think a lot of guys fight to get a paycheck. The cool part about fighting is that you can make $2,500 if you knock them out 30 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. The fight goes the whole way through.
It's totally personal. I never looked at even jiu-jitsu of like, oh, I want to make money competing and be like, world traveling black belt. And no, that wasn't a goal of mine. I do want to be a black belt. I'm working towards my black belt. As far as Muay Thai and boxing, no, didn't want to like go to the Olympics and whatever. I'm old. I started way late, but what I do want to do is pay it forward and teach every human that I know what I know. I started competing as a white belt actually, and Eddie definitely gave me the confidence for that. He didn't even know my name for the first 3 months because there was nothing shiny about me. I was very intimidated and very scared, and you don't really catch someone's eye by that. I'm a teacher now. I know that. Like the kids that try to like, I don't know them that well, but the ones that are like, I'm like, oh, what's up, His coaching and his gassing me up, like pretty much like, man, you're an incredible athlete. Like, dang, girl, you're explosive. Once you get some technique, like you're going to be a monster. So those were seeds being planted, and I watered and nurtured those seeds.
I am 2-0 as a pro, and my goal was to become 5-0 and then try to go for like a big money fight for a belt or something like that. I had a hand injury that happened right before my second fight, actually. I fought with a hurt hand. I knocked her out with that hurt hand, but it took a year off recovering. So during that year, it actually was really hard for me. My identity, a lot of it is in boxing. So I kind of felt like I don't know who I am. Like, what am I doing? What's my worth as a human if I can't say I'm a fighter? Like, if I can't say I'm a pro boxer, like, now what? Which is silly because I have a bunch of other talents, and actually I can use boxing for other things, you know, for example, doing my YouTube channel, teaching people how to box, stuff like that, but it's not the same. While I would love to say that I'm working for a title fight and, you know, making big money boxing, like, that's not the truth. I'm doing it because I love it. It's a part of me, and I don't feel like myself without it. So currently I'm training my ass off, and I'm still in the ring sparring with guys now. I'm back to it. My hand is healed, which is crazy because they said it might never heal. So that's already a big win for me. So I'm right now looking at my little wins and celebrating them and like really reflecting on how I feel day by day. And that might lead to a championship fight. It might lead to me just inspiring people to do something that they love, to try something new, to like defy the odds, and like, who knows? So kind of scary, kind of exciting to be in this zone right now.
Then I met my coach, who's also my boyfriend, and I started training with him, and he actually was like, would you ever think about fighting? And I was like, well, I'm old now, but I would have. And he was like, no, you're not. You're not too old. Like, you could still fight. And I was like, really? And he was like, I'm gonna get you a fight. I was like, what? You're gonna make me fight? He's like, no, I'm not gonna make you. You have to want to. And I was like, okay. So I just let it, like, you know, see if it rooted and planted a seed in me, and it did. And then I took my first fight, and I won unanimous decision. I beat the brakes off of this girl. It was cool because there were moments where I actually felt like little baby Kita Flower in the fight, but I had to tell her to go away. I remember one time I had a clinch, and I was kneeing her, and I could hear her going, like from the knees, and I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry, baby. Like, I just wanted to hug her, and I was like, no, keep going, keep going, keep going. And it's a really funny moment in the fight where I'm literally throwing like Taibo knees, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, what are you doing? I took Taibo on her. It is a confidence booster to the 200 millionth billionth degree. I think any person who is insecure or has insecurities about themselves, if they learn how to protect themselves, your wall comes down, because so much fear that you thought you had about specific things really just lied from that one insecurity of like, I wouldn't know what to do. That's just about everyone who doesn't train. So I think it's just an automatic personal insurance confidence that training martial arts does for you. I think knowing that you can protect yourself gives you the automatic confidence, not the physical part. It really is from within. I had the physical my whole life. It didn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? Not until I was able to sync this and this together to know who I am, where my weaknesses lie, what I need to address, and how to address it. It came from inside. And I think having a background or knowing a skill that helps you protect yourself, self-defense, martial arts, just automatically gives you an edge of knowing who you are and what you will and won't stand for.
My fiance absolutely hates it, dreads it, and I don't think it's as much about the actual fight. It's more the preparation. It's more the investment, the time invested, the money invested, the energy invested, the days that you come home so sore that it's pretty hard to carry your daughter or even do anything. My dad is a huge supporter, but he's always so strategic with what I got going on. Did I pay my bills? Can I pay my bills? Is money right? What's going on? Is everything good at the house? My mom, I don't think she loves it the most. I think she gets the most out of it. She's the most proud.
Let's start with the good stuff. My boyfriend loves that I'm a fighter, and he's proud of me and tells everybody that I'm a pro boxer, or that I'm a badass, that I'm faster than any fighter he's ever seen. My boyfriend like really uplifts me, but he doesn't just like blow smoke up my ass. Like, he really believes it, and he's seen me train, and we actually met in the boxing gym. He's not a fighter. I mean, he's a good athlete naturally, so he was training there, and that's how we met. Very different than a lot of my past relationships. A lot of my past relationships were like, females shouldn't fight. You know, they didn't want me at the boxing gym with a bunch of other guys, you know, like getting sweaty and sparring next to some guy. And it's like, my God, we're not in there making out. I'm trying to punch him in the mouth, not kiss him in the mouth, you know? So it became such a problem in my past relationships that I actually stopped boxing for a period of like 2 years, which I have huge regrets on now. So ladies, if you ever stop doing something you're passionate about for a guy, or you're thinking of, don't do that. Like, this is my biggest piece of advice I could tell any female. Like, do what you love and do it all out. And if somebody is not okay with it, they're not good for you. I don't know if it made guys insecure, that I'm like, I don't know, faster than them, stronger than them, more badass than them. I don't know, but it hurts when somebody doesn't support you. Some of my family thinks it's cool. Like my aunt, she's a black belt in karate. She thinks it's really cool. My mom, when I started boxing, said, why would you do that? Now, my mom is my biggest supporter in life, but with boxing, she just didn't understand, you know, like, why would you do that? You're a synchronized swimmer, a sport of like strength, beauty, and grace. Like, why would you switch to boxing? My mom was worried about my face. She was worried about me getting hurt, and she just couldn't stand the thought of her baby getting hurt. So I understand where she's coming from, but it did not feel so good to not have the support from my #1 supporter. She said, like, I spent thousands of dollars on those braces. You better not get those teeth knocked out. So I went and got the best mouthpiece from the best mouthpiece maker. And my teeth are all still here and still straight. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of people that ask why. Why would you do this? A lot of people online, like, why would you want to hurt your pretty face? Some of my friends at the gym, even the trainers there, are like, oh, you're too pretty, too talented. You don't need to be a fighter. Like, stop fighting in the ring, you know? So there's a lot of resistance being a female fighter. And even when you go into a gym, it's like you have to prove yourself. If you're a guy and you go in, like, I've seen guys go in that are like absolute shit. Like, they have no business training to be a fighter, like no natural talent, no heart, no drive. You can just tell. But some coach is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna turn him pro. I'm like, really? Are you? Because there's no fire there. But then if you're a female and you walk in, you're like, hey, like, I'm an athlete. I've been training hard. Like, I want to fight. They'll be like, I don't know. You're a girl. So, you know, that kind of, you know, and you have to like show up day after day and like put in workout after workout and beat a dude's ass in the ring in order for somebody to take you serious and be like, oh, you've got some skills. I might want to train you. But like, whoa, really? Wow, what a shock. I never thought about that. Like, it's crazy. It's like you literally have to like play their game with them and prove yourself, and then, you know, make them think it's their idea. And I don't know if that's a guy thing, but that's how I've noticed the trend in boxing gyms, you know? So it's yeah, a lot of pushback.
The financial side is probably the only negative side of the fight game and me being a fighter, because I've never got hurt. I mean, I have small injuries here and there like everybody else. I've never been knocked out. I've never really been dropped. Like my last fight, I had a guy pull out of the fight at the weigh-ins. I was asked out of not only my paycheck, but asked out of all the money I spent getting ready for that fight.
There's hard parts. There's times where, like, for instance, right now, I'm going through a lot with my mother's health. My mom needs a lung transplant. I have to move so that my mom can live with me. I got to find a place to live. All of that means can't really go to train right now. So I've kind of taken a little step back from jiu-jitsu, and I just feel like in my wave of life, I just do what I can, honestly. If I can train, I'm going to. If it's too much, I don't put it on my plate.
So I am somewhat of a boxing fan. For a while, I watched every major fight. I have some favorite fighters, like Tyson is my all-time favorite fighter. I love Canelo. You can see his growth from fight to fight. It's literally like he's a sponge, and he, like for the Canelo Mayweather fight, he learned a lot more of angles and like working with like defensive strategies and stuff that he didn't do before. He used to come straight forward, power puncher. He had added the angles and everything. Every fight, it's like he adds on a new superpower, you know? So he takes everybody's powers, and I think, to me, that's something really admirable, to go back and be able to add to your toolbox even when you've had 50 fights or more. I also love fighters who have humble, have humility. I get it, it's a business of entertainment, so to sell tickets and stuff like that, Muhammad Ali did it, you know, hoot and holler, call people out. I think there is a line between like entertainment and disrespect or like clownery. So I think Muhammad Ali was like, you know, he didn't cross the line, but there are some fighters, for example, like Adrian Broner, who does cross the line, and I can't stand him. I really have no respect for somebody like that who has so much power to do something good for the sport and for people in his community and young athletes, and he abuses his leadership role. He glorifies bad behavior. I just don't like that in an athlete. So there are some people who are boxing fans and they could name every single fight that has ever happened, everybody's record. They can name all the stats, but they've never gone in a ring and felt what it feels like to be under the pressure, under the lights, take a punch, even throw a punch, but they're an expert. You know, it's like, that's not what should give you clout in boxing, your knowledge on stats, to me. So it's like, I've actually had some people be like, oh, you never watched this fight, you know, this person, you're not a real boxer. I'm like, that does not make a fighter. Yes, studying tape and learning does. The best experience and knowledge you can get is from getting in the middle of it, like putting yourself on the line of fire and learning how to adjust in the moment. That is the best training tool for me, you know? I watched, you know, Tyson's to the body power punches. So I do kind of like see that and try to implement some of it. But I don't go crazy watching boxing like that right now. I am focused on myself, how I feel in the ring, and my own journey, and just learning hands-on. And I think that I'm much more of a fighter than these people who just claim to be a boxing fan and know the stats, you know? I am a boxer. I box.
I mean, the preparation of the fight, every aspect is difficult. The most difficult part is the weight cut, by far. I've struggled a lot with weight cut. I want to say primarily because I don't necessarily have the right guys supporting me when I'm cutting my weight, like helping me do the right things, eat the right things, drink the right things at the right times. Weight cutting is scientific. There's certain parameters that you have to stay within, and that should be consistently tested and looked at and analyzed to make sure that you're healthy enough to make that weight. In my last camp, I went to a specialist and got my body weight index checked and tell me how much bone density I have, how much fat, how much water, how much muscle, and what is actually possibly capable with the frame of body that I have. That is always the hard part. It takes a great deal of effort and timing and diligence and sacrifice and investment. If it wasn't for eating good, I could not make the weight classes that I make. Trying to cut weight in a sauna or trying to do a hot bath or a sweatsuit wouldn't be enough. It would be too hard on me, too drastic of a weight cut in such a small amount of time. I've learned that it's, nice and steady over a 3-month span. You just work it down about like 10 pounds, every 2 weeks, something like that. Every 3 weeks, at least to be down, 10 pounds. 2 pounds a day, a pound a day, and then you just slowly work there. You lose that 30 pounds, 25 pounds, depending on where I'm at.
Well, I basically go by the motto, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So with my coach, we train hard year round. I know a lot of fighters, and you'll see big fighters like Maidana, for example, who when they're in the off season become a totally different, out of shape version of themselves, I guess is a better way to put it. I like to stay in a very conditioned state, but when it gets closer to fight time, we have to amp it up a little bit and then taper also so we have strength and power when the fight comes. So I walk around at 123, 125, and I fight at 118. I'm a bantamweight. I don't have much to lose as far as body fat goes. So we really just focus on speed and power within my weight. Eating wise, I eat mostly I'm paleo. So I eat very nutrition dense foods. I eat sweet potatoes, nuts, fruits, vegetables. I do eat meat. I know that's the big thing right now, to be all plant-based. My protein powder is plant-based, but my food itself, I eat chicken. I like chicken, I eat it. I know it feels good on my body, not to get carried away with food, but it's a huge part of it. Fueling is a huge part of training.
When I saw the UFC and the blood and the elbows and the ground and pound, I knew that that was for reals. I knew that that really worked. That was some real, those guys were some real warrior, 300 gladiator kind of different men. Those guys are different. People will look at those guys, whoa, that's like a different kind of human. And after that, I started learning kickboxing at the boxing school. My first coach, Julio Trana, he was kicking the bag with his 2 daughters. Wanted to kick the bag. I saw him kicking the bag and I was like a little kid. I couldn't not kick the bag. I didn't even know how to kick, but I was like, oh yeah, you can kick the bag? I'll kick the bag too. Almost like a little baby ego trip that I had right there. Like, I'm gonna show this guy how hard I can kick too, Mr. Kicker. And next thing you know, I fell in love with him. You know, he's father figures of my life.
To be in the ring for a pro fight feels like, you know, in movies when it's like, goes silent and, you know, so we hear the audio, we hear everybody yelling, la 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 la, you know, throw that right, blah, 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 jab, 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 move. You don't really, and then it goes silent for the fighter. It kind of does do that in a way where like you're just like very focused on what's coming to you. And some of it feels a little bit slow-mo. Like my last fight, I just remember I did get hit pretty hard in the cheekbone. She was a brawler. She came from down here and then like threw a haymaker, like a right hook up to the top. And I was boom, and you could hear it. And then I was hyper aware of the crowd because everybody's like, whoa. When that happened, I was like, oh hell no. Like this is not how it's gonna go down. And I could hear my thoughts. That's the weird thing is like usually you just think your thoughts and I could hear myself like, I'm about to take you out right now. Like, I'm not letting you go to round 2. It's weird. It's like an out-of-body experience almost. But it should be like very sensory in body because you're getting physically hit and stuff. Yeah, time is warped when you're in the ring. Sound is warped when you're in the ring. And the only thing you can do is try to stay focused in the moment and remember your training. This is why we train so much. This is why we spar so much, so that it's a lot of natural reaction. I had no idea what my fight looked like until I watched the replay. I remember parts of it when I was watching it, but I was like, oh, I didn't even know I did that. Some of it was just so natural, you know? So it's kind of cool to see it unfold, but you're also aware of things that you shouldn't focus on. For example, I was in a slow ring, my last fight, which is too much padding on the ring. So my fancy footwork that I like to use, I couldn't use it. So I literally was like, oh shit. My feet are taken away. That's one of my strengths. And I know a lot of people just come straight forward. So if I can't step my angles or I'm a little slower than that, I can't use that. So now I'm fighting their fight, which is what you don't want to do. You want to fight your own fight. So I had to learn how to adjust and adapt in the moment. So it's literally like stay calm. Remind yourself to stay calm. And if you can do that, then you can make adjustments. If you can't stay calm, then you start falling into their fight and their pattern. Then it's like out of control and you'll never get it back.
It's like a video game. I think in fighting, when you see like a very savage knockout, like a left head kick or like a big knee, that's like you unlocked something in the video game. And now you have like the sword of Excalibur that's always in your, and then you have the shield that you acquire. And then you like acquire all these tools through your experiences. So when I kicked him in the head, then I unlocked head kicks, meaning like everybody I kicked in the head, I would drop. I don't know if it's timing. I don't know if it's my ability to, my technique, the technique behind the kicks. But that's what really like turned me into the guy that I am now, which everybody's so scared of in MMA, which is this Muay Thai striker.
Basically, I wake up at 5 a.m. I run right away in the day. So whether it's a day on the track where I sprint, we do like wind sprints and stuff like that to build explosive power, or I'm doing distance running just for endurance and stamina. But still intervals are built into that because boxing is all interval. It's high intensity interval, right? 3 minutes on, 1 minute off. That's how our rounds go when you fight. My training is mostly like that with the running. And then I'll go to boxing training and I'll do mitt work with my coach or I'll do sparring. And all of my personal sparring has been done with males. So I don't see a female in the ring until I go to fight, which is not ideal, but it's harder to find female sparring partners, especially my size. I'm pretty small. And for some reason, the females in California are all like Amazon women, and they're like all my friends, but it's like sparring them won't be that beneficial for me. They don't move at the same speed necessarily as me. I use a lot of like foot angles and speed, and my stamina is actually really crazy. So I can get a big guy to gas out, and then I can take them out. You know, that's why they like to get in the ring with me, so that they can get their stamina up too. So I'll do boxing with my coach, sparring with my training partners, and then I'll do some explosive power like strength and conditioning too. So basically when I'm getting ready for a fight, I'm doing 2 to 3 workouts a day, and there's heavy recovery built in there. So my running coach always says, run hard, recover harder. And if you don't do that as a fighter, you're really risking injury. Like my hand injury wasn't because of overtraining, it's just because I threw an overhand right wearing 8-ounce gloves. That was a stupid mistake on my part, but you know, it happens.
Hands back. You have to get wrist control. It's very specific. I realized I had a knack for teaching others, especially martial arts, when it came to just volunteering. I started with a couple friends and we just, you know, wanted to empower women and started teaching self-defense classes. And then me and those friends kind of parted ways. We didn't have the same idea as far as empowering women, and that was something I really wanted to do. I felt so unfortunate as a young girl not knowing what to do when I was faced with someone who did not like me and was mean to me. That alone was shocking. Like, wait, why? Like, what's, you know what I mean? So when I started volunteering my time on weekends and teaching at Team Victory, my boyfriend's gym, and just doing 2-hour seminars every weekend for free, I realized this is something I have to do. Like, I'm good at it. These women are coming back. They're bringing friends, they're bringing aunts, they're bringing sisters. You know, all of a sudden the gym was full. And I was like, I'm onto something. This is something that every woman should know and every woman should feel walking down the street, is just confidence within her own skin. And I needed to give that to people. So that's when I knew.
It feels good to be good. That's it. You know, it's like when you've worked so hard for something and it has a payoff, like when I land a straight right on my sparring partner who is like 155, all solid rock muscle. Actually, his name is Rock. When I land a punch on him and he stops and says, whoa, it's like, oh shit, like, okay, my power is like starting to really work for me, and I'm small. He shouldn't feel my punch like that. So I have speed, I have power, I have angles, I have stamina. Like, a lot of females are actually brawlers, which I hope with the Olympians now coming in, we can get over that. But in the past, it's been a lot of brawlers, which is just sloppy, and actually a brawler can make any technical fighter look sloppy because we don't train for that. We spar with technical boxers, and so we know like how to roll and step, blah blah. It's like an art, you know. It just looks very masterful when you see 2 technical fighters in the ring together, sparring or fighting, whatever it is.
So at Team Bully Buster, we teach jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, wrestling, and boxing, and then also fitness. So strength and conditioning, fitness, agility, pretty much just a well-rounded athlete, everything that they would need. So the way the program works is like usually, I mean, typically it's by word of mouth, which is such a blessing because we have so many people that just refer friends and more friends and more friends and more friends. So we'll get a call about a student. We ask what age they are. That way we know what class they come into. And we tell them what they need to bring. And then they come and they sign up. And class starts with a warm-up, just getting everyone acclimated and joints moving, muscles moving. If there's any new students, we welcome them to the team and have everyone introduce themselves to the new person. And then we get into the lesson. So if it's jiu-jitsu day, we'll either work on a submission or a defense or movement. If it's boxing, we're focusing on that. If it's Muay Thai day, we focus on Muay Thai. Fridays is strength and conditioning. So it's more like agility and obstacle courses and strength and conditioning. So each day is something new. No class is ever the same. And I think that's what makes our program and our gym so lovely, is that there's so much information and none of it's redundant. Like, you're not gonna be like, oh, I already learned that. Like, there's gonna be something to go with it. I would say the difference between teaching children and grown-ups is patience, honestly. For a while too, I would say I really enjoyed teaching adults. And now I really, really, really love teaching children. You got it? David and Ethan, take a seat, everyone. We make our kids spar because what would be the point of us teaching you all of this stuff if when it comes down to it, you freeze and you don't know what your instinct will be? The only way to test that is to put you in front of another person, you know? And sometimes a kid will get punched and they'll just freeze. And I'm like, I get it. Trust me, I did it. My whole life I froze. But you can be unfreezable. And that's what I'm here to do. I feel like adults have barriers, you know, over our lives and our experience, walls go up. With children, there's no walls, so you can just pretty much implement and plant seeds of whatever it is that we're learning. With adults, there might be a fear there or something a connection or a trigger. Those things make it a little more challenging, but it's fun either way. I love both. I think it's pretty interesting watching boys and girls and the difference in their learning versus adults and children, and how fast a kid, if I say you're gonna do 10 jumps, and if I say that to an adult, it's like, whoa, jumps, just jumping? It's funny, the walls we put up of limitations for ourselves. So it's cool being a coach to both, because I can chisel away the walls that adults have up, and then with children, you know, hope they don't build any walls and they're just absorbing. I would say some of the struggles of running and owning my own gym is that at the end of the day, when there's a problem, I have to fix it. No matter how tired I am, no matter how many classes I taught, no matter how many privates I had or meetings I had or life outside of the gym, I still have to make sure the memberships are entered. I still have to make sure it's a lot, but it's cool because at the end, I'm like, whoa, I'm doing this. Like, I did this. That's magnificent.
There had been times where I had stepped away from the sport and been like, okay, I guess I'm completely done. I had medical stuff, heart stuff that I have that I was born with, that would make you think twice. It's always scary, selfish, scary and selfish. I have a daughter. What if I die? What if I die cutting weight? What if I die in the fight? How many fighters died in 2019? A lot of boxers, for sure a lot of boxers. Why haven't I quit? That's such a good question. It's really hard to say, because I think the answer is I have not quit because I'm so selfish with my passion for this sport and my addiction for the feelings that I get out of it. I get such a crazy feeling when I win a fight. And it's not even when I win the fight, it's the next week. The way everybody talks to me, the way everybody wants to know about my fight, the way everybody treats me, the way everybody looks at me, the way that the team comes together, the way everybody wants to hang out with me, they want to celebrate with me after my fight, the way my parents are just relieved. It's the relief. At this point in time in my life, I finally found the go button in myself and the things that I have to do to make myself be able to keep going forward with all the negative aspects of being a broke fighter, live in Van Nuys. But I would love to be able to move my family to a nice area, big house. There's so many reasons for me to quit, and there's so many reasons why people would say, like, you're gonna fail. As a fighter, you have to believe in yourself. That's primarily. If you don't believe in your own self, then I don't know why you shouldn't be. If you feel like you can't be really good, and I don't mean like the best in the world, because that's like, there's a best in the world in every city. There's like a best guy. And there's a best overall, but there's always a better guy than that best guy. I feel that quitting would make a lot of people happy. Me stopping my career will probably make a bunch of guys extremely, they would clap. They'd be like, all right, yeah, we got him. I have a lot to prove to myself. And now that I've found the way to make myself go, I found a way to coach myself, which is a big factor that I had been missing for a while. My daughter loves the way that I am a fighter. She's been with me every single fight. She's 4 years old. She's been in the ring and the cage through all my battles. She looks up to me as a fighter, and she knows that I'm strong and I'm a protector and I'm powerful, and she sees me teach my classes and the way people respect me in my classes. And then for being a fighter, I probably haven't given up, because I still think internally, inside of my heart, I know that it's like the two guys digging, and this guy, he turns back. And right where he turned back, he's just a few shovels away from hitting treasure, gold. We're going to find the gem of all gems. I believe that my time is coming. It's not always the fastest person to get there. Sometimes it's the turtle that wins the race.
This is actually a question I struggle with. Like, success is such an individual thing, I think. For me, success is, like, I'm very big on setting a goal. So I have to have something that I'm focusing on. If I don't have a goal that I'm focusing on, I'm gonna feel like just lost, like almost living in purgatory. And it doesn't matter how much money I have at that time or how many friends I have, how many Instagram followers I have, I won't feel happy. I think like real success for me is finding what makes you happiest and being able to do that for the majority of your life.
Because I feel like no matter who you are, you've experienced someone being mean to you and not liking you. And it's uncomfortable and it sucks, but I'm the girl who's talking about it and dealing with it and teaching people how to deal with it. And I think everyone really loves and appreciates that about me. It's so beautiful because I wasn't sure if women were gonna love it the way I do. And I wasn't sure if children were gonna wanna know. Of course, I'm passionate about it because something happened to me. But I feel like, just like insurance and just like we put on our seatbelts every day, it's just in case something happens to you. And I feel like that's the same mentality every human should have when it comes to learning to protect yourself. It's just in case. I'm not creating fighters. I'm not creating women that are like, oh, I'll fight anyone, I'll take it. You know, like, slow down. But just having some awareness, having some techniques, having some personal strengths, and knowing where they're at can change your life and could have changed my life, did change my life. I knew that I was onto something. And when I saw a friend of mine who has a Muay Thai gym and has had it for a good 10 years, recently posted, got my first walk-in today. And I was like, your first walk-in? And so that means everything's like referral based, right? I have 15 walk-ins every day. My phone's ringing off the hook because the community is really, really loving that there is a place for their children to go and learn not cheeky stuff of like, poke them in the eyes, you know, kick them in the butt. There's more to it, and you need to be aware of that. It was very, very touching to see how the progression of Team Bully Buster, and now being open for 2 years and having over 100 members, and just every day someone calling saying, I would like to sign my child up. I would love to come take a women's class. I want to learn how to protect myself. I was raped. I was molested. These calls are every day, and they have a place to call, and I didn't have a place to call. And so that just lets me know I'm on the right path and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's cool and it's so beautiful to see my life full circle and to see that I took something so horrible and turned it into something so beautiful. And I really wouldn't even take that back. Like, I wouldn't take anything away. Everything got me to where I'm at. And it's crazy because I wanted to make sure the bad guys weren't hurting people, but instead of focusing on the bad guys, now I focus on the good guys, and we just are empowering them.
I think a lot of us, like me, like I have a game plan in how I can get myself to the UFC. I don't feel like I should fight somebody with 30 fights or 25 fights or even 15 fights right now as a guy with 2 fights in MMA. It doesn't make sense. It's kind of the issue that I've been having, and I think a lot of fighters have, especially when they're slightly good, is that in your local pocket, wherever you live, your community, everybody knows you and knows you for your strong suits. So either they're going to avoid you because you're so dangerous, or they're going to look for you. They're going to want to take that fight with you. I have a hard time sometimes finding fights with guys that are 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. that has to do with because I got a ton of Muay Thai experience, and I think their coaches are trying to make sure that they don't put their fighter in with someone that can possibly knock their fighter, their student out in the first pro debut or within the first 5 fights. Look at Canelo's first fights. Let's just take a look at anybody's first fights. They're typically in Mexico, right? Why do they fight in Mexico? To fight bums, to fight the chef, fight the cook, the guy with the corn right there, paletero. To fight the guy who's literally like making the tacos. He legitimately fights, and he'll literally lose, he'll take an L, so that this guy from America can get a win in his record, and he gets paid what he makes in 3 weeks, in 1 day. You don't think that they're gonna take those fights? You don't think they're gonna help build? There's guys ready to take L's. Same thing in Thailand too. You're gonna fight the tuk-tuk driver. I mean, the guy, man, that guy, he fights too. Guess what? Because in the span of a month, he'll make what he makes in a day on a foreigner, paying the like whatever little licensing fee you gotta pay. I know I was gonna fight in Mexico, and it was gonna cost me like $400 to $600. I thought as a professional, you get paid to fight. Why am I paying to fight? Oh, because we're gonna pay to pad my record. We're gonna pay to fight a guy who's for sure gonna be an easy fight. There's gonna be a guy who's gonna, I don't wanna say suck, but he's gonna suck. And that's done to build me up. It's done to build up a lot of fighters. I turned down the boxing fight. I just didn't want to make no money. I choose to fight locally for the fact that I get to build my hype, build my community, build the name of my community, build up the recognition I have locally. It doesn't do me justice to fight 5 fights in Mexico and nobody even sees them, hears about them, or even knows about them. And I'm not beating anybody that has any kind of name or recognition locally. There's no positive effect from that. I know guys with like 10 fights, 12 fights, 13, 14, 15 fights, most of their fights in Mexico, and they're very not renowned locally. And I think you want to be popular in your local circuit. You don't want to be like known in Mexico. Why? You don't even live in Mexico. To make my career a success, it'll take perfection.
But for me, success is like setting a goal and crushing that goal.
In order to get me in the UFC, I got to stay undefeated, or we got to get the right fights. We really have to get the right fights.
Right now, I actually have a goal outside of boxing. I'm training for my first triathlon. So it's like I want to find athletic endeavors that continue to challenge me, because for me, I feel most like myself when I'm an athlete.
I don't want a padded record. I want fair fights. Give me the exact same number of fights, and I will, okay, 2-2, 2-0, I'll fight 2-0. 3-0, 3-0, 4-0, 4-0, 5-0, 5-0. Let's run it the way it's supposed to be ran. But I'm not trying to fight a guy who's 16 and 12 with a bunch of experience, a veteran. It doesn't make sense. You know why it doesn't make sense? Because when I beat the guy who's got nearly 30 fights, and I'm having a hard time finding good fights right now, fights that seem sensible, that seem reasonable. What fights am I gonna get after I beat the guy with 30? Who's gonna want to fight me? Where? I'm gonna immediately have to get put in the UFC or something, because if I walk through these guys and I am able to knock these guys out, not saying that it's not, it's gonna be a great. The guy has 30 fights of experience. I know I'm 2-0. I'm a super talented, very unique individual. I'm sure he's never fought a specific human being just quite like me with the tool set that I have, that I bring to the table. That's what really differentiates me, is that I'm just unique. You only know that when you meet me and you feel me and you talk to me, and you train with me, you spar with me, you see my speed, my combos, my kicks, my heart, most of all my heart, my ability to take a punch. Those things make me so unique.
So if I'm working towards an athletic goal, I feel a sense of purpose. I also think my biggest purpose is to inspire people to do things, like I call it do it anyway. So it's like, if you're scared of something, it's okay. I'm not fearless, like by far. Ask my boyfriend, he knows every single one of my fears, rational or irrational, whatever they are. I'm actually afraid of people in those costumes, at Disneyland, those costume people. Yeah, I'm afraid of them. Yes, I could knock them out and they're just humans, but I have an irrational fear of like people in costumes. I have weird fears, but I face them. So it's like, you might be scared of something. For example, the triathlon. Yeah, I was basically a professional swimmer before, but I've never done open water swimming. I'm terrified of sharks, but I'm doing it anyway. So it's like, you don't have to be fearless. You just have to face fear. Do it anyway. So I do that every day, even for my training when I develop discipline. Sometimes I don't want to train. So it's like, oh my God, I'm exhausted today, or I just don't have motivation. Do it anyway. That's the muscle of discipline. You can't rely on motivation because some days you're gonna feel like shit. So for me, it's like building that muscle, going through the motions until you start feeling good because your training is kicking in, or you look in the mirror and you're like, God damn, I'm shredded. Or like you are starting to land more punches in the ring. Like whatever it is that makes you feel like you're like growing and accomplished, I think that helps you feel successful, you know? So it's like I'm training towards this goal of a triathlon. When I cross that finish line, to me, that's success. When I knock the girl out in the ring, that's success. Had I not even knocked her out, but I got in the ring, just the fact that I got in the ring and I faced my fear, like, because actually I have a fear of failure. So if I got in the ring and didn't win, that's my worst fear coming true. But I'm doing it anyway. Even though I know, to me, that's like the end of the world. Like losing to me, I'm gonna tell you, like on a deep sense, it's the end of the world to me. But I know that losing is actually lessons, and you learn a lot more and you win more long-term from losing, right? So like Michael Jordan has that line too that, you know, he talks about learning from his losses. So it's like, I know you become greater from learning lessons, but it's still a fear of mine. I don't like losing. I hate it. I hate losing. I work hard. I want to win. Like, I want to crush it, you know? So I'm learning more to find my success in accomplishing, facing my fears. So I crossed that finish line in the triathlon, even if I'm not like top female in my age bracket, which I still want to be, I'm still going to count it as a success, as a win. So it's a perspective thing on what success is and what winning is to you, because we're all on our own journey, and my life is not your life. My goals are not your goals.
From the higher level guys that I talk to, that I know, the guys who are making $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 right now that I look up to, certain guys. I got a buddy who's in Combatis America, and he's the champ, and his best friend's one of my best friends. And so I asked him, I'm like, because I don't really necessarily have too much of a management team behind me. I manage myself. That's because I can't afford to give a manager 20% of my $2,500. I almost need that little 20%. From his point of view, he told me just like that, it's stupid. You're going to beat these guys who are 15 fights, 16 fights or whatever, because you're so good. You're probably going to run through them. You're probably going to knock them out. You're going to have the utmost hardest time trying to get a fight after that. So we're trying to be smart. We want to fight. It looks, you know how it's easy for me to get fights? If I beat guys that are fair. Oh, he beat a guy who's 3-0. Oh, okay, I'm 5-0. I'll take that fight. It was all fair. When you beat a guy with like that much experience, when the coach is looking at that and the team is looking at that, it looks bad on paper. It looks like it's a bad matchup. So if this kid that's a superstar, super popular kid, he's doing something, he's finishing these fights. All my fights haven't gone to the decision. All 3 professional fights, they finished under about 4 minutes.
So martial arts has definitely impacted my life and how I make decisions, because I'm slower to react. I grew up not being patient. I wasn't a patient person. That was something I wanted to work on, and something I wanted. I wanted to have the quality of patience. I think it's an important quality, especially in life. And this day and age, I feel like a lot of people don't have patience. Martial arts definitely, I would say specifically jiu-jitsu, has taught me patience. When you're in a position that might be horrible, you have to be patient. You gotta wait for that opening. You gotta create an opening, but you have to be able to read what's happening. And I feel like all of that has translated in my life, because I'm slow to make decisions. I don't make a decision unless I am concrete about it. I won't say I will do something if I'm not gonna do it. I think all of that comes from being a martial artist, because I don't remember being so diligent in the way that I processed and thought about things until this walk in my life.
Everything that I've been doing right now is leading me just naturally on a path towards helping others do the same, which is like makes me so happy. And I've listened to a lot of Audible books lately that talk about, like one specifically by Kathy Heller that is called Don't Keep Your Day Job. And it's talking about finding what brings you joy and learning how to make money doing that so you can have a career in being happy and making others happy. I love helping other people. I love serving other people. And I feel like I have an obligation, because I've been given so much athletic talent and gifts, to use that to inspire others. So, I mean, I've done some training for people, some coaching. I coach synchronized swimming as well. Still, I'm a choreographer, and I coach boxers. I hold mitts. I just love athletics as a whole, and I want to help people like see what they're capable of and push limits and like break barriers, especially for females. I am super passionate about helping females do this so they can gain confidence, feel good about themselves. And that doesn't mean that you have to be shredded, like you don't have to have a six-pack. Like, I'm known for my abs, but you don't have to have abs to feel like you're the best, fittest version of yourself, okay? We're all built differently. So I want to help people find the best version of themselves. So in order to be able to have like freedom to continue to train and inspire in that way, and people follow that journey with me, I feel like I've been falling down on my obligation to help people by not doing that. So I think it's kind of my duty, like, you know, this might sound corny or like I'm calling myself a superhero or something, but like with great power comes great responsibility, right? We all know that from our superhero movies. But it's actually true. I think when I've gotten to these levels of greatness, and I have so much wealth of knowledge and training and athletics and fitness, it is my responsibility now to share that wealth of knowledge with the world, and how I get through hard days, and what I do to overcome injuries in training, and like what are the best workouts for this. Like, I know these things. Why should I not share them with the world? I think that's selfish. So yeah, I'm calling myself out now. I think I've been selfish by not sharing that, by only going on my own journey and inspiring a few people along the way. I want to be able to reach millions. I want to one day be able to talk to people on a stage, go to schools, go wherever I can go to like inspire young people, athletes, women, anybody of all ages. It's never too soon or too late to start diving into health, wellness, athletics, and things like that. So yeah, this is my journey now. My mission is to reach out and help as many people as I can, to take you on the journey with me.
Altogether, my family, they love what I do, but they'd rather have me do many of the other things that I'm extremely good at. It's just my selfish person that can't let go of being a fighter. I try to step away, and I get pulled back. I want to step away, but I really want to come back. I haven't done what I wanted to do yet, so I have to come back. I think regret is a terrible feeling to feel, and I'd hate regretting not taking my career further because people wanted me to stay inside the box, not take a huge risk. Big risk, big reward, and you don't always win when you gamble, but sometimes you win really, really big and it changes your life.
Like how much in life I've fought and never really felt like I was winning. You know, I feel like life has just been a constant fight. You know, my parents getting divorced, and then my mom getting hit by a car, and my brother involved in a case, and now I'm involved in a case, and it's like, it's just so much fight, but like, where's the glory? Where's the win? When do you get to be like, okay, I did it? And at that point, I did it. And I remember like getting my hands raised, and I even went on my tippy toes. I was like, oh my God, I did it. And it's a funny moment, but it's really cute because it was baby Kita. Like, I'm just so blessed that I get to show children and women the tools and the things that I know. So God forbid they're ever faced with a situation that might be violent, they know what to do. And at the end of the day, that's all I wanted, and I did it.